is okay with the meeting being recorded. And Aaron, I think that'll help you out too. We can post your presentation on the website. So the XR Demo Day, it started with a guest speaker. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Help me out, Johnny. And you're muted, Johnny. What was it?
Ed Lang.
Ed Lang. That's right. Ed Lang. And he talked about, he has developed domes with immersive dome experiences all over the world, where you basically go into the dome. It's like a show and it happens all around you in 360 degrees. So that's a live immersive experience. And it was just really inspiring. And then we had a lot of demonstrations from many different fields of study. It was everything from our space, health and wellness, to anthropology. I know Dallas, you would have enjoyed that. The speaker actually talked about, hey, Tracy, welcome. We're just kind of doing a recap of the XR demo day before we get
Wonderful.
into our guest speaker. So Dallas, the anthropology person, they are positioned in Bhutan and they want the government to be more aware of what it's like for the people in Bhutan. And so they literally, he mounted a camera on the horn of a yak and you saw that the herd moving along and you saw that the herders, the yak herders with this yak. And it was just such a cool, I don't know, something cool about it. You know, the camera kind of panned around and you felt like you were a yak, like you forgot if you were a human or an animal and you were part of this herd moving along. So there was an anthropology presentation. There was another cool demo from linguistics that had to do with teaching people the Basque language and using a VR experience for that. There was another really cool one in the health and wellness space that we're all in about using VR to, it was for, was it cerebral palsy? Was that the one, Johnny or Wilson, that were there? I think it was, I want to say,
The one with multiple, he would grab the images and move around. Is that the
well,
one?
that was another one too. That was really cool. The one with,
Oh no, Parkinson's.
sorry, Parkinson's, where they, you know, they were saying this is interesting with Parkinson's, it's a neurodegenerative disease and you lose your motor function, but they're saying there's points where people tend to freeze up. And, you know, like say they're going through a doorway and they tend to freeze up. So the scientists don't completely understand why that is. But it's like taking your car to the mechanic. The car works fine when you're at the mechanics and you're trying to explain. So it's similar where the people suffering from Parkinson's, they'll try to explain to the provider what's going on, but it's hard. So they're actually using VR to recreate these stressful simulations. And at the same time, they have like an EK or EEG. Excuse me, I'm not a clinician, so the stuff they hook up to the to measure the brain waves, and they can actually capture that simultaneously while they virtually recreate these stressful situations that cause people suffering from Parkinson's to freeze up. So that was a really nice presentation. Actually, I recruited, I think his name is Leo. I recruited him to join our group. So our group is going to be expanding, which is really cool. So anyways, I wanted to give an overview and a plug for XR Demo Day. It was a huge success. I want to give a shout out to our organizers for this whole thing, Janar, Francesca, and then Joy is in an advisory role now, but they really did a superb job in pulling all these different demonstrations together. So they're going to schedule another one in the fall. I don't think they've determined the date yet, but we'll make sure to send out announcements when that happens. Really cool event. Oh, that's right. Wilson reminded me not to forget too, I got to virtually fly a drone. You can, you know, put on goggles and if in case you want to fly an actual drone, but you don't have one, you can practice virtually. I crashed it a few times, so it's probably good it wasn't a real drone. Yeah, until I crashed. That's right, Wilson. Thank you. But anyways, that was a really cool event. Well, I want to make sure I give our speaker, Aaron, or the wizard, enough time. And to give a little introduction, Aaron, I had a chance to meet you, I believe it was last year at the pediatric gaming conference is where we actually hooked up. And I was really impressed with Aaron's work. You know, we talk a lot about the immersive space, and what's so cool about it is it's not just VR and, you know, putting on the goggles. As we heard at the XR demo day, someone talked about being in a dome and having that literal experience. Aaron's going to talk to us about in the pediatric space, immersive experiences to do with meditation as an intervention tool. And Tracy, I'm so glad you were able to come today because this is very relevant for the child life space in hospitals too. So Aaron, without further ado, I do have it recorded so we can share that with people later if that's okay, I'm assuming.
Yes,
And
please.
I will let you take it away, and you should be able to share a screen too if you'd like to. And we'll
Amazing.
reserve some time for questions at the end. So if you have any questions, please just hold on to them and it's all yours.
Perfect. Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to come wizard for UCLA. I'm here to share with you my magical creation, Inner Realms journey. And I want to invite in the possibility, the question of what if our imagination was the greatest virtual reality system ever created? What if our imagination is our superpower that maybe for some of us has faded away a bit, or we've lost connection with how to really use it? And this thing I've created, Inner Realms Journey, the world's first ever audio guided adventure meditation game, has the intention to reboot or reactivate our internal virtual reality system. So if any of you have ever played a role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons, there's some inspiration from that, and there's years of my studies of meditation woven into it, into sort of a new gamified experience, blending meditation and sort of a fantasy gamified adventure. So I'm Aaron Pyne, and I now go by Aaron Pyne, the Elven Wizard. And in a way, the wizard's always kind of been there throughout my life as a child of, loving fantasy, loving ancient mythology, loving fantasy games, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering. That was many hours of my teenage years was spent doing that and playing those games. And then as an adult, getting into web and tech development and art, and also studying and teaching many styles of meditations over the years. And then in 2019, while meditating, I had the idea to build this thing that would sort of blend all of my passions and all my things I've studied over the years into Inner Realms Journey. And I had the opportunity to go to New Zealand for a few weeks in the very beginning of 2020. And if any of you are Lord of the Rings fans or any other fantasy movie, a lot of fantasy movies have been shot over in New Zealand because it's so epic and majestic and magical. And so I was there kind of doing a Lord of the Rings geek tour, going to some of the Lord of the Rings sites, and had this idea brewing in my head, shared with a few friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, you should do it. And so while I was in the beautiful forest outside of Wellington, where they shot some of the elven scenes of Rivendell, there's a forest, there's a path you can walk through, and there's even a recreation of the elven gate that's in the movie. I went through that gate and said, all right, I'm going on this quest. I'm going to give it all I got and build this thing. And then I came back to the States, and I was in between moving places, so my stuff was in storage. And I was like, I feel like I need to go back to New Zealand. I feel like I need a 2-month kind of personal retreat there to figure this out and build this thing. So I landed there right before COVID, and my 2-month adventure there turned into a 13-month adventure in New Zealand, which was one of the best years of my life. Being there was very safe, very minimal COVID during that time, and met a lot of friends, got to travel a bit more there, but also really felt like I was in this little safe bubble from everything going on in the world to really like tune in and focus and start building this thing and figuring out how I would blend these, seemingly different arenas, genres of gaming and fantasy and meditation into a new experience. So that's where this thing started, was in the magical land of New Zealand. And then 2021 in springtime, I came back to the States. And that's where I started embodying this wizard, the Elven Wizard, as you will, and I'll explain more about that, and discovering how much of a wizard I could be in this world. One of my mantras is, how much wizard could a wizard doth wizard, if a wizard doth wizard, everywhere a wizard doth wizard. So it's been super fun for me, and also seeing the inspiration and the joy and the play that it brings to others. The more I wizard, the better it seems for everybody. So I keep turning up the wizard dial to see how much I can wizard and bring forth this fun new experience. I'm also a father of a 13-year-old beautiful daughter that actually helped in some of the initial ideas and concepts of this. Although now she's becoming a teenager, so now she's a little kind of too cool for it, but there's still some of that in there. Also an artist, lover of nature, that's the elven part of me, and also a mead lover, which is honey wine, which I'm also have some projects on too. So Inner Realms Journey is this online experience website and app, and we've got books now that, as I said, blends together a lot of meditation techniques. Some of you might be familiar with. There's tons of studies nowadays on meditation and the many benefits of it for health and wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I've taken many different meditation techniques, as I said, and turned it into this more fun, gamified experience that's available for a wider audience, a wider range of people. And one of the biggest challenges of meditation, especially for us in the Western society, where there's so many different things going on and so much stimuli, is to really just even get into it and to stick with it. And even more so for kids, because we definitely have a lot of outreach here with this project with kids, and getting them to sit there and breathe and relax and quiet their minds is not an easy endeavor these days. So Inner Realms Journey takes those concepts of meditation but puts it into this fun game type experience that they might be somewhat familiar with, and makes it more exciting and engaging for them to really jump into it and make use of it on a regular basis. But not only that, we've got a whole curriculum of all kinds of fun activities that I'll be getting into. And the core of this, as I said, is the imagination as well, and opening that up. Through this experience, these audio guided journeys, and there's over about 80 of them on the website now, and I plan to make many more. The audio journeys have beautiful music, soundscape, sound effects, and narration. So it's almost like listening to an audio story, almost like a TV show, but audio guided, just the music. And the idea is for the listener to close their eyes and imagine themselves going on this sort of adventure into the realms. And the basic experience is, as you'll see here in the images, in the first one, they begin their quest, and they're taken to this magical forest. And like I said, the audio has, forest sounds and sound effects, and you hear the squirrel, scurrying through the woods, and the birds. And eventually they're taken to this magical fire, and they meet my character, the Elven Wizard. And I tell them about the quest ahead of them to help them reactivate their magic and travel the realms and help them really be more empowered in who they are and their creativity. From there, they get a magical pine cone to power up their biosuit, which is their energy system. And in that process, they were doing what, if any of you have done meditation, it's called like breath work. They're doing some deep breathing, some relaxation, grounding exercises. From there, they get a magical crystal to unleash their avatar. And the concept of the avatar is the kind of a core of this, is their character, their superhero self. And I like to think of it as we get to sort of recreate the script of who we are. We have developed this identity of who we are based on our upbringing, our parents, our culture, whether it was positive, negative, all those things have sort of influenced developing the character that we all are. This gives us a chance to sort of pause that and go into our own imagination, our own creativity, our own spirit, if you will, and develop this heroic version of ourselves and begin to bring that to life. Of course, mine is the Elven Wizard, right? So the Elven Wizard for me has kind of always been there through all my interests and passions, but now I created that. It felt very empowering for me. It helped me kind of come out of my shell more, be more excited, and brings more of my passion to life and more fun and play to life. So I invite people to step into that avatar and get to play with that. I've not seen anyone go to the full degree I have yet, but definitely people have started to bring their avatar into their life, and there's lots of fun ways through the program to support that and getting to share that with their friends and their family and stuff. It's very empowering and supportive, especially if we're going through some sort of challenge. It's easy to get sort of bogged down by the stress or overwhelm or anxiety of stuff, and I feel that too. But then I'm like, oh wait, I'm the Elven Wizard, and how would the Elven Wizard deal with this situation? And it just sort of puts me into this positive, creative, and even playful state when I'm facing those challenges. Even before I got on here, I'm like, okay, I got to give this important speech. Let me really connect with the wizard, right, and get over the nervousness and the shyness. Like, okay, I gotta go for it, right? So it gives us that like expanded version of ourselves to step into. From there, after their avatar, they create what I call their inner realm sanctuary. It's sort of this imaginal world, your own safe space. Mine is the Elven Wizard of this great magical forest, and there's this Elven Wizard tower and this tree. And so this is a place that they can go to later on through the meditations to recharge and regroup. And also we have sleep meditations in there where it takes them to their sanctuary, lets them rest there. And it's a very nourishing place, especially I found for myself, I travel a lot, I'm doing a lot of different events and things like that. So it's like, even though I'm not say home, I have that place I can always go to in my mind if I need a little something to settle me or calm me or nourish me. I also, see kids like if they're in the hospital for weeks at a time, that's not their normal environment, right? And it's maybe a bit odd to them. They don't have their friends around, all their normal things. They can go to this magical place whenever they need to as a place to sort of recoup and feel safe and feel calm. From there, they create a portal in their realm. It's sort of their like safety doorway to go into and out of that place. And then from there, the journeys, the audios take them on different adventures to different realms across the great Tree of Life. And you may have heard the Tree of Life. It's a pretty common mythic term from pretty much every culture around the world has some version of it. So it's sort of inspired by that, but expanding on that concept that there's all these different fun worlds they get to travel to. And those are each different meditation journeys, and they're 20 minutes. Our longest one's an hour, most about 20, 30 minutes. And those journeys take them on this fun adventure, right? There's like the fairy world, and there's the angel world, and underworld, and all these different ones. And there's a story that's unfolding along through all of them. So it continues to build, much like you're watching, a TV show. You're like, oh, what's going to happen next? But you get to sort of be in it. You're really using your imagination to fill in, right? The audio creates sort of a fertile soil of the experience, and then your imagination fills in more of it. And there's opportunities in there for them to overcome challenges or learn about themselves or discover tools that can help them in this world in day-to-day life. And it's fun. Like I said, you meet different characters. There's different voice actors we brought in and do different character voices. So it's this fun experience, and you're going into this imaginal meditative state. As you go through, you discover magical items, treasure, level up. So there's these fun sort of gamified aspects in there that encourage people to go back. And I've had people like, I just want to go do more meditation because it's fun, and I also want to get more points, and I want to level up my avatar. So it kind of encourages that gamified experience to keep going. They also meet creatures and allies that support them on their journey, and those are very supportive. Right? What kid doesn't have imaginary friends or has like that stuffed animal that's supportive? So this creates this sort of, I call it like an inner resource, an inner source that can be with them wherever they are, right? Even if they've got to go to treatment, even if they got to go to school someday and they're struggling with something at school, they can call upon those inner resources, imagine them with them, and help them on their journey. And then I said there's this quest to stop the Shadow Frost, and the Shadow Frost is sort of the villain, if you will, this sort of dark, mysterious force that's created this disconnection in the realms. So as you go through the journeys, you're kind of helping unravel that Shadow Frost and reconnect the realms and level up your avatar. So it has that sort of heroic journey that keeps you going and interested in expanding yourself through it. So kind of on the technical side of how it works is there's a website, an app that has all the audio journeys on it. We're just launching some preloaded MP3 players that we're hoping to get out to some hospitals here soon. I think Forrest is on here from Seattle, and I'm also talking with Cody in South Carolina, who's interested in getting some in. And these MP3 players are super fun and simple for kids that can't have too much tech stuff. that has the meditations on it. So you can just drop those off and get them started, and they can use it on their own or in a facilitated experience. Normally it requires the internet and headphones, or headphones are ideal, but these new devices have a little speaker on them and don't need the internet. Very minimal screen time. You know, you kind of log in the website, there's a bit of text here or there, but then you're basically just accessing the audio journey. They can be used by themselves, or we also have a lot of activities to bring it into a group format. So if you have a group of kids doing it together, there's a lot of really fun stuff to support each other and also bond together in a really beautiful way. The curriculum, which I'll go into in a bit, has all kinds of activities, art projects, writing projects, things that allow them to take those experiences and those creations like the avatar and the sanctuary and bring them to life, right? And be able to share them with their friends, with their family, and also helps support them to stay connected to it, right? You know, I've got pictures and maps I've made of my inner sanctuary, and that really just helps bring that to life and helps strengthen that connection so that when I'm out in the world and I don't have time to, you know, log in and do a meditation or put on a VR set, I have that really like kind of locked in my mind of my sanctuary and the Elven Wizard, and it's very clear for me to sort of draw upon that for sort of internal support. As I said, it can be facilitated live, so we've got some facilitators running it with kids. I think there's one going on right now in Seattle where she's running it like on a weekly basis with a group of kids and doing some activities with them. But it can also be given to them, you know, if they're, say, in their treatment room and they need something to do, it can be available for them to have as this activity on their own. Most of the meditations are 30 minutes. We also have these short little fun power-ups that are like 5 to 10 minutes that can be done to start your day or before you're about to go into something very challenging like a treatment or something like that. It can be a way to just sort of get them boosted and actually feeling good about it. We've also got our different books and journals that help, you know, have some beautiful imagery and can be used to draw and track all your creations in here. And the sessions can be set up very flexible. We've made it scalable for a lot of different experiences. So the imagination development, right? I was saying imagination is this powerful VR system. And what we found through this from players, both adults and kids, obviously, right, kids, their imagination is generally more active than adults. We tend to lose that a bit and maybe turn that off, but that it really develops the imagination. I've had a lot of players, you know, start it and they're like, oh, I can kind of visualize these things a little bit, but as they keep with it, many have reported how the experience becomes more vivid for them, more real. And I've even had a few players that had, I believe it's called asphantasia, where they can't visualize anything, that they started doing this and actually started to come online, and they're actually able to start to visualize things internally. So my theory is this would help continue to develop those imagination capabilities in the mind, which of course has a lot of real-world application. There's a lot of things we have to use our imagination for problem solving in this world. So these are some of the core concepts I talked about, that they're really imagining through the experience, their character, their avatar, which is like their passion. It's their own self. The sanctuary is a safe place for them to go and be nourished. The allies, the treasures, their abilities, these are like tools to support them, right? Every good game, right? You get a new sword, or you get magical items, or you get potions or different things. That all like enhances the journey. The realms journeys, you know, these are the experiences to different worlds, different landscapes, different challenges, different characters you meet, different experiences. So it's like building this internal experience and this rich inner landscape that's very supportive to navigate this world. And a big part of it, like I said, and for me, is like rewriting my story. Like, yes, I'm Aaron Pyne. I grew up in Ohio. I have my years and my journeys and my experiences and all the things. And also now I've got this additional layer that I've sort of woven in of the Elven Wizard. And it's sort of expanded my story and myself, and has been frankly very fun and very exciting to play and be able to bring into different environments as well. So I've seen some really cool things for people overcoming a lot of fears or limitations as they bring their avatar to life. I've had a lot of people say, I've had all these dreams of things I've wanted to do, but I was always afraid. And as they got into their avatar and worked with this, they like overcame those fears and went out and did those things that were holding them back. As I said, imagination as our superpower. You know, we're using it all the time to some degree, everything that humanity's created, from the greatest inventions and greatest works of art and music, and just daily solutions. There was some level of imagination first, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had this, right? Or I really like to create this. So there's some level of imagination needed to do that. And I believe we sort of process life through imagination, right? Even right now, you guys are looking at me as this crazy wizard guy. Like, there's some level of your imagination seeing that and maybe thinking about past wizards, maybe it's Lord of the Rings or this or that, right? Or any experience you have in life, in relationships, in work. You're drawing upon some level of imagination to interact with that. If you're thinking about the past, right? Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that, and you're replaying a scenario in your head, you're using your words, and maybe there's an ice crystal gemstone, or some kind of little fun trinket or something. To, again, almost my vision with this is like turning each of the rooms or treatments into this fun quest. If there's a kid that's really into this and enjoying the Inner Realms journey, then be able to expand that into real life experiences to make it a more fun adventure for them. Making it like, oh, this is exciting. I'm here and away from my normal life, but this is pretty fun. I'm getting to do all these crazy things. That's like this fun adventure. And then what's cool about this is, hopefully they recover, they can then take this home with them, and they can continue to access the meditations. They maybe share it with their siblings or their family, and so it supports the ongoing healing process and the integration process back into their day-to-day life. Here's a few sample kids projects from some of our early test groups. You've got some of their avatars that they created, and really beautiful. These are a little bit small here, but they'd really go into detail describing the powers and the equipment it has and how it works. And it's fun. These were some of the programs Emma, who helped me develop the kids stuff, got to play with, and it was really cool for her to see, like, she knew the kids, right, and their personality, and then be able to see their avatars and see how much like that was what was inside of them, waiting to come out. And so the avatar really helped them overcome maybe some of their shyness or their confidence issues, or overcome where they're facing whatever challenges at home life, to really like expand and open up and blossom. And we've even had a few kids that she taught, took them through this experience, and then she hadn't seen them for a few years, and she got to encounter some of them at school, and they were still developing, still thinking about it, and still using it several years later, and really supported them in a lot of fun ways. Up in the top right were some shoebox dioramas they made of their inner sanctuaries, kind of like an underwater mermaid, I think. And this was like a fairy world up here. And then some pictures of their first journey to meet the Elven Wizard, which was very fun for me to get these pictures of these kids' interpretation of the Elven Wizard. And they made portals, which they go through different portals on recycled CDs. So just a couple of the many projects we've got. So the kids' curriculum, this is sort of an add-on thing. There you can see me, my early wizard outfit in 2020 in New Zealand. So after she had been taking the kids through the program for about a year, this was before I knew I was going to leave New Zealand and come back to the States. She's like, come in. So a little funny story. I remember walking into this school, kind of suburbs, rural suburbs of Auckland, and I had my like early wizard outfit, and walked into the front office there and had to like sign in as a wizard. And of course her class was like all the way at the end of this long hall, and all the classes had windows, and none of the other classes knew who I was or what I was doing there. So I'm like walking down the hall with my big staff, and all I hear is, a wizard, look, a wizard. I'm like, all right, Aaron, this is what you've created for yourself. This is your new job. This is wizarding. So it was super fun. I got to go in, and they shared their avatars with me and their sanctuaries and their adventures through different realms, and it was so much fun. And we did some fun projects outside, and you can see a few of them kind of dressed up a bit, some things they created, or they made costumes and brought that in. And then I did a live little guided meditation journey to this cloud realm with them, to the cloud dragon, and said I need some extra magic because I'm going back to the States, and they just had COVID, and it's a bit of a mess over there. So they each brought a different gift to give to the Elven Wizard. So from that class, with Emma and some other tutors I got to work with, we developed this whole kids curriculum. It's an 80-page ebook, and it's basically broken up into 12 lessons. Each one goes along with one of the meditation journeys, and there's all kinds of projects in there: writing, art, research, nature, etc. And it's meant to be very flexible, so it can be something you can give to a child to do. It can be facilitated in a group. Of course, she was facilitated in the classroom, and she would do different things depending on what she needed to do. We've had some art therapists use it, and they're all just about the artwork, so they just kind of focus on the art projects. Or you can give it to kids and say, here's all these different things. What do you want to do? And some might lean towards the art, some might want to do more of the writing, some of a mix. And it's fun to talk about it. And there's also activities in there for sharing. So whether it's just a one-on-one, you and a child, or a group of children, or the children and their parents, there's fun ways to share and support. I did get to work with Seattle Children's Hospital last fall, and we got to train 8 of their staff there to start rolling it out and just kind of getting it going there. But it was super fun for them as the staff to go through this experience together. And we were each sharing our avatars and our sanctuaries, and there's some really fun connections around that. So I think it really brought a fun level of connection to the staff as well that they can then take out to the kids they work with. So that's the training program we have. It can be something you kind of run with on your own, but I also offer this facilitated training where I'm taking a group through it over 6 weeks, really deep dive into the experience, sort of the deeper meaning behind everything, and supporting you to implement it, right, in whatever your sort of capacity or your role is and how you work or with your team. So that's the deeper training with it that I offer. Couple reviews, and we've got some more of these from some licensed psychologists, and we're hoping to gather more feedback here as we go over the years, and more data around it and testimonial. And these are on the website too if you want to go more in depth on these.
Aaron, this is Forrest from Seattle Children's. I'm wondering if I can add maybe a minute or two of
I would love that.
Comments. So I am Forrest Coyle. I have a background in behavioral neuroscience. I studied mindfulness meditation as a part of my undergraduate, so I have a close spot in my heart for this. Currently, I work at Seattle Children's Hospital as a therapeutic gaming and digital technology specialist. So this is really within our wheelhouse. We work really closely with our child life specialists. We did this training with Aaron, and I've used it with some of our patients for some early pilots and seeing how we can implement it. And I would say it's really interesting to see how this gets kids excited about meditation. From what I've saw in my research back in my undergrad days is, teaching kids how to meditate, it typically is not very effective. But I think with mechanisms like this, and also through, I can honestly compare it to our virtual reality, because we do use virtual reality as a distraction, but also to teach them skills to take outside of the VR, and that's like visualization and mindful breathing and those kind of the body scans and distraction and imagery. So there's a lot that we have seen use cases for this in the hospital. We're excited as it continues to get more accessible. And I will also add that being audio based for patients, a lot of my job includes gaming. This is a really accessible intervention for patients who may not be physically able to play a video game to still be engaged in a hobby in one of their interests, including in intensive care situations or terminal illnesses. I think there are a lot of potential use cases for this to be a comforting place for patients. So just wanted to share our experience with it here at Seattle Children's. We're excited to keep working with you, Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Forrest. Any thoughts on that? Because you guys got to do the training together just as like the staff experience.
Yeah, so we've had rec therapists, art therapists, child life specialists, and a clinical psychologist go through this training. And so, I mean, pretty much across the board, it's interesting how everyone had different takeaways and use cases, but tying it back to what are therapeutic skills that we can work on and teach patients with. And a lot of it lines up well with even the stuff about sleep, thinking back about some of our sleep hygiene classes that we would teach when I worked as a mental health specialist on our inpatient psychology unit. A lot of that curriculum can be tied in with the right kind of clinical supervision that can go with it. So we really see a lot of use cases, and I think this is a good way to make meditation accessible and interesting for kids.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Forrest. Appreciate it. And this is another kind of project that sort of I was working with, and we talked about it with a group in Seattle, is using this for end-of-life support as a way to support the anxiety and the processing, both for a child if they're facing end of life, and also the siblings and the family. So some of the concepts, particularly the sanctuary as this place that, okay, maybe this is where I imagine maybe I'm going to go to, and allow them to really create that and create a sense of peace around it. Like, okay, I'm leaving, but this is somewhere I'm going. and then also to create a legacy project, whether it's art or writing, that they can leave behind for their siblings and their family, that this is somewhere my beloved child or brother or sister is going to, in this forest sanctuary or this sea castle or whatever it is that the child comes up with. So I believe that has the opportunity to create a lot of peace and ease around processing through that very challenging situation. So I've created some more projects and aspects around that as well. So we've got the book, as I showed you guys a little bit. So we kickstarted this hardback book, and then we also created a little mini one that's basically like a structured journal that has areas for the avatar and the sanctuary and things like that. So it's kind of a fun way for them to kind of keep track of it all. The full one has a lot of artwork and goes into some of the concepts and experiences, and just helps kind of like bring it to life a bit more, having the book as well. So you can see there's avatar ideas in there, inspiration, the biosuit, all the different things we talked about, and then there's the journal section for them to track their experiences.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Aaron.
You're very welcome. That wraps it
I
up.
apologize. My camera's off because I had a power outage and I had
Okay.
to switch
Phone mode.
to my laptop, which I guess Johnny doesn't have a video camera. I thought it did, but anyways, that's okay. Aaron, this was fantastic. I want to leave a few minutes for questions. I
Perfect.
see there's one question in the chat,
Oh yeah.
a couple questions in the chat already. Let's see, one from Wilson. Oh, this one is actually for Forrest. Could you expand a little bit more on using this platform for sleep therapy? Just a little more context.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think a lot of what we talk about with sleep hygiene, a couple of the skills that we would teach alongside of this is relaxation exercises, guided breathing exercises, which can be incorporated. So they might practice in the app, and then we talk about how we could apply those same guided breathing relaxations, or even doing one of the meditations, a sleep-oriented one before sleep. And then the other area that we could see is the imagery piece. So thinking about their sanctuary as this really safe place for them to practice, maybe after the meditation ends, as they're transitioning into sleep, being in a place that's very comforting to them, that they can practice imagery and relaxation techniques to help them sleep.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks so much.
There's about 10 or 15 versions of the sleep one that like basically guides them to their sanctuary, and then has different, like there's a forest sound one and an ocean one and other like relaxing sounds. So it kind of takes them there and then just sort of lets them drift off there. So it sort of supports that process.
Cool. We'll take one more question. I see Dallas, your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks. This is amazing. I really relate to this as a alter ego, as a wizard, as a role-playing gamer. My undergraduate honors thesis in psychological anthropology was on role-playing game groups and communities, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
But my initial intent was along the lines of what you've done here, about like individual level sort of development and transformation or growth. And it's super impressive how you've kind of crystallized the sort of neuroscience or cognitive behavioral and imaginative and mythical connections in all of that is really, really great to see, and applied in this way is fantastic. So my question is, when I was on my journey doing this exploration around this, my mentor said, hey, it's really cool that you're really into all this inner journey stuff, but what you might want to explore, what I see is happening in these spaces, building community, building relationships. And so I was checking out your website and saw that you have, in the member stuff, you have some group oriented, right? And so social, so I'm curious about social support, and I'm sure this is like the add-on, like it's not your core vision, but it's expanding.
Yeah.
So the ideas about expanding in terms of community, social support, relationships, and even how that plays out in the child life experiences, because I'm not sure how much of that happens there.
So yeah, I think there's a lot more potential there than we've gotten to really fulfill. But yeah, definitely, I've done groups. We have like a Discord chat server, which we had a little bit of activity on, and I've done some like ongoing, like try to do a live thing once a month or so. You can join in and ask questions, get support. And then also, yeah, the kids groups where like somebody's facilitated it for like an 8-week journey or 12-week journey. There's definitely that community aspect. I think there could be a lot more. And the times I've done like an avatar Zoom meeting where anybody that's player can join in and give a minute or two to share their avatar and ask me questions, and really just the sharing. And then like we did an exercise together in training where everyone got a minute to share their avatar, and then everybody gave them a reflection or something they saw about it or something they appreciated or even a gift. So that social aspect definitely is powerful and allows like more of that support to bring it to life as well. And I think, my hope is in the future we have more like, whether it's Discord or other sort of apps or systems where people can chat and share and post that up. So I think that's more to come on that for sure.
Well, I saw a comment from Tracy in the chat about the child life and in the inpatient eating disorder population. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
Yeah,
really
let's
interesting.
Hi. Go
let's
ahead.
make a connection there. Tracy, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
And Aaron, I
and
gotta give, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
it just that population and its complexities, and just what really struck, this is Clarissa, my colleague who works with the eating disorder population, is just your talk about like building an avatar and creating this identity, because sometimes with mental illness there's such a fixation on this is who I am this eating disorder, and we work really closely to help break
Wow.
that
Right.
thought process. And a lot of our patients are interested in this kind of arena, this platform, the wizardry and all those
Right.
things. So I was on the meeting solo and I texted Clarissa, I'm like, you got to get in here.
Amazing.
This is amazing. So
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to
I love it.
connecting and
I love it.
chatting more with you offline.
Yeah, and feel free, anyone, to reach out for more questions, or if you want to just collaborate or brainstorm on ideas, totally would love that. Using dream therapy, not yet, but yeah, that's definitely a support. I mean, actually, for me personally, a few of the realms that are in there, actually, I dreamt of them. I was traveling this realm and I woke up, I was like, oh, that's a new journey, and I had to like transcribe it into a realm. So I think it definitely is supportive of that. It works on similar basis of symbolism and the unconscious and processing. A lot of those things I think are very intertwined. So I think it could, it's definitely another arena. There's a lot of, I feel like there's a ton of branches for this. I call it the tree of different areas this can go in and support. So I'd love to chat about that.
That's
Group
awesome.
ideas. XR app. I'll take a look at that. I've had people ask me about using or turning this into VR, which is cool. I'm like, I'm trying to get this VR system going and use that. But I also thought about like, if somebody wants to collab and like create some of the initial ones into a VR to sort of be like almost like a training, and then eventually like after a bit, okay, now close your eyes. Now start to close your eyes and use this one just kind of as a transition in to the imagination as a possible in the future.
Well, Aaron, thanks so much again. One of the things I love about leading this group is connecting really good people. And Aaron, I know you're a great person, and Tracy, I've had a chance to work with your group, so that's a stellar team. We love our child life specialists. Having a daughter who's 11, I especially love our child life specialist whenever she's scared in the hospital. So that's a fantastic connection there. And Aaron, thanks again so much.
You're so welcome.
If you have Aaron's contact information there, I
Structured.
believe people can connect with you different ways. If you lose this, reach out to me. We'll share your contact information with the group and also on LinkedIn, right, Aaron?
Yep. And I encourage you, to go to innerrealmsjourney.com if you haven't already. You can sign up for the free trial. That takes you through the first 3 meditations to your avatar. So that'll give you it's about 35-minute experience, that total free trial. So that'll give you a really good experience and feel for it. And reach out. Perfect.
Well, thanks again, Aaron.
You're so welcome.
Let's give a virtual round of applause for Aaron.
Thank you.
We can do it like my daughter's school. They, instead of clapping, they say raise. Exactly. I see Tracy, right? You're raising hands. All of us with kids. So
Thank you
huge
so
applause.
much. Thank you for letting me wizard in here today.
No, I loved it. That was my request. When Aaron said, should I show up in the wizard costume? I said, absolutely. We love our wizard. So I'm so glad you did.
Love
This
it.
is really great.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Look forward to chatting with you guys further.
Well, thank you, Aaron.